at Cornell, there was a big old it was a front basically funding the Human Ecology Fund here.
Yeah. And by the way, this is one of the few sub projects that we actually know about. I'm sure there's tens, if not more, of other sub projects that have never been declassified. This is just what we could find.
Right. And a lot of this is through grants to universities, you know, so it's like government funding grants, and these things will start to get kicked off here. So yeah, so the Human Ecology Fund here was 1955 to 1965. Right. Harold Wolff was a neurologist who focused on migraines and headaches, and then he met Alan Doles. He met Alan Doles after treating his son for a brain injury, and they
hit it off.
They hit it off big time. He's like, wow, what a coincidence. See, so
like, yeah, I've given people you could say I've given people migraines before. yeah. By migraines, I mean life-altering LSD trips.
Yes. And so Harold Wolff had a partner, Lawrence Hinkle, who focused on cardiovascular health. And so basically these two were chosen because the interest was how far can we push the body physiologically in these experiments to make people break. Yeah. And so let's scroll down on that one.
Yeah, we've got a few other key players.
Wait, hold on. There's a little more on that card.
On this one?
Yeah, there should be a little more.
Is it scroll?
Or perhaps not.
Oh, no, I think it was it. Okay, so this is bringing us to like some of our main characters here. Should we check out the mad scientists? Okay,
yeah,
so
that's
we got
these guys right here.
Harold Wolff and Lawrence Hinkle, who we apparently couldn't find too much on, but they were both involved in this. It was basically just a CIA front. Experiment going on at Cornell, and
so they received something like almost a $29,000 grant from the CIA, and these two guys established the Human Ecology Fund, which was a site on location at Cornell University, which is where Jolly West comes in.
Good old Jolly Green Giant.
He looks very reasonable in a way. I don't know. That's maybe it's just his broad face. I don't know.
Yeah, looks like looks kind of like what's the guy, Orson Welles, like the Citizen Kane guy. So we got Louis Jolyon West. I think that's how you pronounce it. But he's kind of the main character of this whole MK Ultra operation, man.
Yeah, between him, Alan, and Sidney.
Yeah. So he was an officer in the United States Air Force Medical Service from 1948 to 1956. He completed his residency in psychiatry at Cornell, the chair of psychiatry at the University of Oklahoma. So he went from Cornell. He studied at Cornell and then worked at Oklahoma.
It's ironic too that he wasn't there when the Human Ecology Fund started, actually. So we noticed that. But he actually wasn't there when that started, ironically. So
yeah, he just happened
to go there.
To have a relation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
So it wasn't until he made it to the University of Oklahoma where the CIA decided to pick him up for subcontract 43, I think it was, subproject 43.
And then turns out he was Jack Ruby's psychiatrist after his arrest, and so
we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah, we'll get to that. The like interconnected nature of this whole thing is just is nuts, and it's almost nauseating.
You could skip mostly over the history. Okay, all that shit gets broken out a little bit later.
Oh, but yeah, so he got most of his money through subproject.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go to Oklahoma.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah, so he got most of his money through Project 43, which was the name of the grant that was the MK Ultra sub grant that he got his money through. And so yeah, contracted for psychophysiological studies of hypnosis and suggestibility. That sums it up kind of.
Yeah.
And studies of dissociative taste.
So it seems based on the phrasing that he wasn't explicitly contracted without any, pre-awareness of this. He drafted a contract proposal for them and said, I want to do this shit. So it shows more intent, I guess.
And so the CIA was like, I like your style.
Exactly. Well, and then, I mean, just to go back up again, super quick, just scroll back up here. He actually was, keep going. He actually was in charge of being a psychologist for these people who were Korean prisoners of war or prisoners of war in Korea. So
Yeah.
he was right there from the very start where they were looking into this kind of stuff too. He was their psychiatrist. So.
Oh yeah, he's appointed
panel.
to this panel to discover why airmen had confessed or cooperated in North Korean allegations of war crimes committed by the U.S. So yeah, he was essentially originally on a panel to audit war crimes.
Wow.
And brainwashing
This is
allegations.
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's gonna come up quite a bit throughout the rest of this.
Yeah, we could probably bounce over the mad scientist, or we already got those guys.
the
right?
mad
Yeah,
sci-
just
or we
go.
got
I
two.
think there's some important details on him though on the Harold Wolf card. So go there real
okay.
quick,
Yep.
and then scroll down. Let me see. Is that it?
But yeah, that's,
All right,
that's
all right,
basically
yeah,
it.
So, all right. So yeah, but yeah, Human Ecology Fund was a front for all of these experiments here.
Yeah, they were researching torture methods, interrogation techniques, all sorts of, nasty things.
And again, so these guys, their whole thesis was pushing the body physically to the point of breaking, to where your mind breaks. So,
Right.
Yep.
pretty fucked up stuff.
So, Cornell University, people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so-
then so
At the same time in Canada.
Canada.
This is still an MK Ultra project, despite it being out of the United States. This is explicitly a subcontract of MK Ultra, where they use psychedelics, paralytic drugs, electroconvulsive therapy, all
called-
these things to experiment on people. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the name of this technique was called psychic driving, and they'd put people into drug-induced comas and play loops in order to imprint certain ideas into their subconscious. And they used curare, which is like I think it was a South American or Central American. Like when you think of poison darts, you feel me? They'd administer large amounts of that, or glucose, you feel me? Like to basically give you like a diabetic coma.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so they'd put your ass out for like a month and just play loops of subliminal messaging underneath your bed as
I think that's basically what people think of when they think MK Ultra is the sort of the visual and drugging feedback response combination.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where that sort of gets its reputation
Right.
from.
Yeah, so pull that Heezy back up and go down to this professor here, mad scientist here. His name is Donald Ewan Cameron, and he was a psychologist at the Allen Memorial Institute. So again, this is more of a hospital setting, like a clinical setting. But this guy was actually already a very impactful psychiatrist, because he was there at the Nuremberg trials, and he was doing psychological profiles of people who were being put on trial. Rudolf Hess was the deputy Führer for the Third Reich there.
Right.
And so he also did a sociological publication on Nazi Germany called the Social Reorganization of Germany, which so he's, and then Nuremberg and its significance, which ironic enough is about holding Germany accountable for its atrocities, and then he's gonna proceed to do these horrible things here. So again, like we were saying too, a lot of these people either have a affinity or a fixation, or they're already studying, whether it's a direct connection or not, they're already heavily invested in what the Nazi scientists were doing.
Yeah.
And so that's crazy. Homie received $69,000 in 1957.
Oh, to 1964.
Yeah.
Wait, can we go back to that for a
Yeah,
second?
go back to that.
Funding from MK Ultra sub project 68, known as the Montreal experiments. So
MK Ultra is
Canada.
international, by the way.
Yep.
Canada's right, it's right next door, so we don't might not think of it that way, but this is an international project, and it's crazy. And again, his main thing is reprogramming. Was his goal. He thought he could cure schizophrenia by erasing all your. It's just funny too, because again, we know now it's like schizophrenia. That's not how schizophrenia works. It's not a
Right.
memory problem. It's a brain problem. But he thought you could just wipe your whole brain clean and start over.
Damn.
And
wipe
you'd
your
be-
whole hard drive.
Yeah, you'd be cured from schizophrenia. And he was trying to do that. And a big thing he said was, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's great. We could do it at my hospital because no one will know if you're acting weird. No one will notice, So they'll do that." And then a lot of people who came into his experiments, they came in for rudimentary stuff. They're like, "Hey man, I get migraines. Hey man, I can't sleep. Hey man, I got a little bit of PTSD from the war." But and they just came in, and he just did whatever.
did his numbers.
And it's crazy. It's crazy because we're saying like, oh, they either were fascinated with what the Nazis were doing in World War II, but really, the Nazis were fascinated with what the U.S. was doing before World War II.
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
a
whole
whole nother
thing.
part of it, too.
With like, you know, because this is not different from like the Tuskegee experiments, you
Yeah.
know, where it's like people would again go in to a doctor for just like, oh, I broke my leg, you know, and then they would put him under and then like do all sorts of stuff to him. They would castrate people, you know,
sterilization.
So it's like
eugenics. Charles Gady, Charles Gady at Sac State. It's funny. The Cornell University guy there, I looked at the Cornell website and a lot of his page was just super simplified down, you know, like it didn't have a lot of these details at all. And that's exactly how Sac State is with Charles Gady, because Charles Gady was a fucking eugenicist, but he was also one of the biggest founders and donators to the college. And they got that on the hush. They got all his books and they burned them. They burned his whole library, burned all his notes. They try to keep that shit on the hush.
That's
because,
wild.
Again, yeah. I mean, Sacramento. He lived out here in Sacramento.
That's craziness, man. I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Gady Park, bro. Used to be called Gady Park, named after him. Piece of shit.
By
But see,
the
go
way,
scroll down again.
I was
on
just
there.
interested, but the $69,000 that you dropped, so today's equivalent purchasing power is about $744,000. Just to
On
put
the
that in
rest of
perspective.
So
his
not a small budget.
Just below $1 million, yes, as a budget to work with. Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's
Sorry, there's
insane.
more. Oh, there's more on
Yep,
this.
yes.
Okay.
I'm just trying to see if that's it.
No,
on
that was
there.
it.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So, yep, let's bounce back
that's
up
up
here.
in Canada. That's going on.